Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Locked Down, directed by Doug Liman and it's written by Steven Knight, and starring Chiwetel Ejiofor and Anne Hathaway. Now, when it comes to the pandemic, it's caused a lot of films to either stop production entirely or get delayed for a year, if not longer, when it comes to us just trying to figure out how the heck we're gonna go back to normal life as we're in our new normal. But Locked Down is a film that essentially is a film that's clearly a film made for its moment and found by its moment, as it's a pandemic-themed comedy that essentially combines a relationship drama, a heist caper, and the timeliness of the 2020 and 2021 pandemic, but ends up being a film that's frustratingly less than the sum of its parts. And it's unfortunate considering it comes from the director of Edge of Tomorrow. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story follows Linda and Paxton, a couple that lives in London, who were just about to break up before the pandemic forced them to continue to live together despite the breakup. And we see, for the first half of the film, Linda and Paxton go through their lives and ultimately see how much they've lost, but how much they still have during the pandemic, and them also going through jobs that they hate, especially having to do it when they can't go outside without a mask and stuff like that. But in the second half of the film, they also happen to find that they can possibly make it big in this pandemic by stealing a diamond from Harrods. And that's all I'll say about the story. The story of the film definitely does feel like a bunch of different ideas smashed together into a film. And while that sometimes can lead to some good laughs and some genuine good chemistry between Hathaway and Ejiofor, a lot of times it just feels like the film was made up on the fly, probably just so it could manage to be released while the pandemic is still going on, or shortly after the pandemic, because these people obviously couldn't know it would still be going on by today's standards. But I will say that while the chemistry between Anne Hathaway and Chiwetel Ejiofor is generally one of the stronger points of the film, the actual material they're given is not one of the better ones. Steven Knight has, of course, also written one of the worst films of the last few years, that being Serenity, and while the writing for this film isn't nearly as bad, it definitely isn't one of his stronger ones either. But like I said, Hathaway and Ejiofor are clearly committed to this project, and they do manage to make some of the lines work. It's just that some of them are literally so obvious and so overdone that even great actors like them couldn't make it natural. That also, several bits of the film are taken up by Zoom calls and Skype calls, which granted they do manage to add to the atmosphere of the film, but a lot of them just feel like they were only done because that's the only way they could get some of these actors to be in the film. To the point where some of their performances essentially literally feel phoned in. That's especially the case with Ben Kingsley's character. I love Ben Kingsley, but it definitely felt like this was something he kind of had to do for the sake of cash rather than him actually having faith in the project. That's not to say that there isn't any fun to be had. There's a few fun poetry sessions, a few relatable bits of pandemic madness going on, and the overall heist at the end of the film does manage to have a few moments of both of humor and drama that are effective, even if it does feel like it takes way too long for the plot to actually get started. The actual heist thing doesn't come in until the second half of the film, and I feel like it could have done a lot better for the pacing if they happened to introduce that element to the film a lot earlier on. But for what it is, Locked Down is just painfully average for the most part. And it already feels like a film that's behind the times, despite the fact that we're still in a pandemic. So ultimately, it's a film that was clearly wouldn't have even reached average if it wasn't for these great actors, but with them there, it's really a film you'll watch once and then probably never want to watch again. So that's why I'm going to give Locked Down a 6 out of 10. See you next time.